All right, we are going to go over how to check the weather before you fly. Obviously, it's very important. You want to make sure that the weather is good enough before you go up in the air. Now, this video is a very basic, beginner-level explanation. As you do more ground lessons, you'll learn a lot more. This is just, you have no idea what's going on. How do you check the weather, generally speaking? So the first thing you're going to want to do is going to go to this website called 1-800-WXBrief.com. They are known as flight service. They give you weather reports, whether it's before you fly or when you're flying. Now, you can get from them what's called a weather briefing. You legally have to get a weather briefing every time you fly. There's three types. There's standard, abbreviated, and Outlook. Today, we're just going to focus on standard, which means we have no idea what the weather is for our flight. I'm going to log in here. You should make an account on this website. If you want an abbreviated briefing, that means you already got a standard one, but now you want to update it or learn something new. Maybe you have a question about the weather. An Outlook is more than 6 hours before your departure. Say you're departing tomorrow morning and you want to get a briefing. So once you're here, you're going to go ahead and hit standard brief. Type in the tail number. Say it's 43813. Just type in the tail number that the plane you're scheduled in. Departing from Farmingdale at 10:22 is today's date. Departure time. Currently, this video is being filmed in October. So right now, UTC time is plus 4 hours. So say I have a 1 p.m. departure time. I add 4 hours to that. It's 5 p.m. UTC. Now, put that in military time, it's going to be 1700. Cruising speed, you could just type in 100 knots. That'll convert to this format that they use. Don't worry about that yet. And then altitude, say it's 2,000 feet. You just put in 020. It'll convert it. If we're just doing maneuvers or landings, you could just put route of flight as DCT and destination is Farmingdale. If you're going to fly to a different airport, obviously, put a different airport there. If you're going to fly from Farmingdale to Islip and back or Farmingdale to Bridgeport and back, just put route of flight KBDR, destination KFRG. Once you're there, you go ahead and hit standard brief, and it's going to load this PDF. When you get this PDF, I want you to just send it to me so I know you got one. And this will tell you, here's what you requested. Okay, I'm giving you this briefing. Here's a table of contents. NOTAMs, notices to air missions. Is the airport closed? Is the runway closed? Are some lights broken? Whatever. AirMets, SIGMETs, convective SIGMETs are advisories to you, right, about any adverse weather conditions. This is the freezing level. Looks like our freezing level today is 12,000. Again, this is a lot for right now, but I'm just showing you what it shows you. This is a surface analysis chart. Shows you frontal movements, pressure systems, areas of equal pressure, precipitation, whatever the case may be. Here are the METARs. We're going to get into these next. Right, METARs are current observation reports. And then if you go down a little bit more, you have TAFs, which are forecasted reports. Okay. Most airports you see, probably about 90% of the airports I've flown to, have a METAR. Not every airport has a TAF. So if you see like on the TAF map, only like this JFK or LaGuardia or I think that's Westchester County or Islip has a TAF. Okay. The way METARs are formatted is they just tell you, okay, here's Republic Airport at this time. Here's the weather. Okay, Islip, same story. Okay. The TAFs start out the same way. They tell you, okay, here's Islip. But then they say, all right, well, from this time, 1700 Zulu, you're going to have this weather. And then, from this time, we're going to have this weather. One thing about this website is it decodes the METAR and TAF for you. It doesn't really show you how to read it. Okay. That'll be on the next website that we're going to use. This shows cloud coverage in your area. This shows, what's going on with the winds, precipitation, icing, snow, whatever the case is. We go down here to winds aloft. And then we have more NOTAMs. There's a lot of NOTAMs on here. There are a ton of NOTAMs. Some of them are very useful. Some of them not so much, right? The very important ones, they're going to list right up here. Closed and unsafe NOTAMs. Okay, so once you get a briefing, you're going to make your way over to aviationweathercenter.gov, AWC. And on here, I'm going to show you how to check the METARs and TAFs. Now, once you learn more, you're going to check a lot more than just that. But for now, we're just going to go over METARs and TAFs. All right, so now on this website, you're going to go click this one, and hit METAR data. And it says type in the station ID. So we're taking off from KFRG. And it's always smart to put in METARs from nearby airports. Just because, the weather at Kennedy is probably going to come your way, because you'll learn that weather travels from, west, southwest to northeast. So Kennedy, I put in Islip and Farmingdale. You hit load data, and here are the METARs. They are just current observations at the airport. So I am also going to send you this key, where'd it go? Right here, that goes over every symbol you could possibly see on a METAR, as well as a practice METAR, and it tells you very nicely what it means. But I'll use Farmingdale as an example. So the winds, let's start from here. KFRG is the airport. It was reported on the 22nd day, the 2-2, it's 22nd day, at 1353 Zulu. So that's 153 Zulu, which means it's 953 out here, because 9 plus 4, 153. So this was reported at Farmingdale on the 22nd day of the month, today's October 22nd, at 153 Zulu, which is 9:53 a.m. The winds, the format says 090. That is the direction, the magnetic direction the wind is coming from. It's coming from the east, 090. The last two digits are the speed, 04, 4 knots. So winds are from the direction of 090, and they're traveling at 4 knots. The way we pronounce this, the way the ATIS will tell you, is they'll say winds 090 at 4. That's how you do that. This represents visibility, 10 statute miles of visibility. This indicates sky conditions. Skies are clear. This is telling you the temperature is 24 and the dew point is 12. The dew point is the temperature that if the air is cool to that, it will become saturated. If these two numbers are within 5 degrees Celsius, that means your air is moist. We call that the temperature dew point spread. In this METAR, the spread is 12 degrees because they're 12 degrees apart. If they're within about 5, your air is moist. Altimeter setting 3027. That is your altimeter setting. Remarks. AO2 means it's a type 2 observation, meaning it can detect visible moisture. The sea level pressure, this is for the pilots over in Europe, is 250 feet. They use this number to convert it to their millibars altimeter setting. We use inches of mercury. Don't worry about that quite yet. This last line is a more accurate temperature and dew point spread. So the temperature, T, is 0239. What the hell does that mean? That's just telling you the temperature is 23.9. You can always double check. Okay, 24. So in a more accurate expression, 23.9. And the dew point is 11.7. That's all that means. So take a look at your METARs for local airports of where you're going to be flying. And now we're going to move on to the TAFs, Terminal Area Forecasts, or aerodrome forecasts. So now for the TAFs, you go on AWC and you hit TAF map. Correction, not TAF map. TAF data. Same thing, type in your IDs. I'm going to do JFK, KJFK, and KISP. Load data. Looks like I typed in Kennedy wrong. There we go. So let's look at Islip Airport. This airport is just near Farmingdale. If we take a look at ForeFlight. Again, Farmingdale, we do not have a TAF, but Islip does. Islip is about 15 miles to the east, and JFK is about 15 miles to the west. So we use their TAFs. So Islip, the first line is the same as a METAR pretty much. It says the 22nd at 1430 Zulu. This is where it gets confusing. Again, this TAF is a forecast, so it covers a wide period of time. That period of time is the 22nd of October at 1500 Zulu to the 23rd of October at 1200 Zulu. Okay, so it's the 22nd of the month at 1500 Zulu to the 23rd of the month at 1200 Zulu. This is saying, you know what? We don't have a wind direction anymore. We can't really tell. Winds are variable, VRB, at 4 knots. And now, instead of expressing visibility as, 10 statute miles, 5 statute miles, they use plus 6 statute miles, meaning greater than 6. And now the TAF is saying, hey, there's going to be clouds at 25,000 feet, and we express that as few clouds. Few clouds, meaning it only covers about 1/8 of the sky. This next line says from the 22nd at 1700 Zulu. Okay, 22nd at 1700 Zulu. The winds are from 170 at 6 knots. Okay, plus 6 statute miles visibility, few clouds, 25,000. The last line says from the 23rd at 0100 Zulu, winds are variable at 3, plus 6 statute miles, and the sky is clear. SKC. Looks like a great day to fly. So, with the TAFs, take a look at this document. I'll send that to you as well. This goes over how to read them, and this is taken from the back of the FAR-AIM. It's in the AIM, Aeronautical Information Manual. Tells you all you need to know about how to read METARs and TAFs. So, again, this is when you're new. You're going to just take a look at the METARs and the TAFs and pull up a briefing. And just look at it. You're not going to know what half of this stuff means, but look at it so you get in the habit of seeing the information. So now you have the weather. You picked up the METAR, the TAF, right? You have to see if it's good to fly or not, right? So these are flight categories. These go over, is your weather generally good or generally bad? So we start with VFR, meaning visual flight rules, meaning you can conduct visual flight rules in this range of weather. So if the ceilings are greater than 3,000 feet and the visibility is greater than 5 miles, okay, that is VFR. Now, never forget this in your aviation career. A ceiling is the lowest cloud layer, not the highest, the lowest cloud layer that is reported as broken or overcast. So if there's scattered clouds, SCT, scattered clouds, at 6,000 and few at 4,000, there's not a ceiling, right? But if there's broken clouds or overcast clouds at 4,000 feet, then there's a ceiling, because broken clouds cover 3/4 of the sky, or more than 3/4. Overcast covers the whole sky. So using that logic, you go down the list here. MVFR means marginal VFR. Yes, the weather is still VFR. However, technically it's barely VFR, right? So now the ceilings are only 1,000 to 3,000, so they're getting lower. Yes, we're still VFR. And the visibility is now only 3 to 5. Okay. We draw this line between VFR and IFR right between the red and the blue. So technically, basic VFR is ceilings 1,000 feet and visibility 3 miles. But then the FAA said, hey, that's kind of unsafe. Let's make these flight categories, marginal VFR, low IFR, LIFR. So pilots kind of ask themselves, hey, should I really be flying today? So now IFR, remember, you can't fly in this weather because VFR, you need to have visual reference to the horizon and have a certain distance away from the clouds. So if your ceilings are 500 feet to 1,000 feet and visibility is 1 to 3 miles, that's not good enough for a visual day. And then low IFR is ceilings less than 500 feet and visibility less than 1 mile. So those are the flight categories. It may be a little confusing right now. I'm just showing you what they are. So where do we conclude this, right? These are the standards that I typically use when I'm flying. If the winds are reported over around 25 knots, or the crosswind component, which we probably haven't gone over how to calculate that, it's just how much of the wind is hitting your plane at an angle. And that's the reason that's unsafe when it gets too high is because If the wind is not directly down the runway, you're flying in sideways, it makes the landing much more difficult. And when you don't have enough experience, it's not smart to land with a big crosswind. So if you see the winds over 25 or close to it, it may not be good to fly. If you're going to do pattern work, we like to have at least 2,000 foot ceilings, because in the pattern, you're at 1,100 feet, and you're going to learn that legally, you have to stay 500 feet below the clouds when we're doing pattern work at Farmingdale, because it's a class Delta. We're not going to get into all those regulations yet with airspace. But just so you know, that means we need to have ceilings at 1,600 feet for pattern work. So I just run up to 2,000. If we're doing maneuvers, at least 3,500 foot ceilings, generally speaking. That means your slow flight, your stalls, your steep turns, and all that good stuff. No temperatures below 32, the plane usually won't start. It's too cold. And above 95, it's too hot for the plane. These are general standards. They're not legally binding. As you can see, I just made them on my notes app, but this is generally what I follow. And this is called personal minimums that you're going to develop as you go and fly. Now, obviously, I feel comfortable to fly in more than this, but it's smart to develop very conservative standards in case you go up and fly and it gets worse when you're in the air. At least you could still handle it. So, the final note I want to take is these weather reports, as you know, are sometimes wrong. The TAFs will lie, the METARs will lie, sometimes the ATIS will be off. So it's important for you to realize that, hey, when you check the weather and it looks good, don't forget to look outside. Don't forget to look outside and just double check. And obviously the weather's out of our control, so we can't control it. So maybe we'll wake up and it looks good, then it gets worse. And just as a rough reminder, generally speaking, you're going to learn that weather comes from this direction. Generally speaking. So if you see the JFK METAR reports ceilings at 500 feet, but Farmingdale's clear, they're probably coming your way. They're probably coming your way. METARs can also be deceiving sometimes. Let's say you have clouds over here, maybe over here, over here. It's a really cloudy day. But, sometimes weather's weird. Let's say Farmingdale, there's no clouds over Farmingdale. You're going to read that METAR and say, oh, wow, sky clear, let's go flying. But little do you know that in probably about 20, 30 minutes, these clouds are going to push over your airport, and now the clouds are too low. So, when you check the METARs, check JFK, maybe LaGuardia, Newark. Same thing with the TAFs to get an idea of, okay, where is my weather going to go? What's it going to do? Now, when we do more ground, we're going to learn a lot more. There's so much more about checking the weather. But this is a good starting ground for you to kind of get you moving in the right direction. So when I ask you, hey, is the weather good today? Now you have somewhat of a clue of, how to make that what we call go or no-go decision for the flight. Any questions? Let me know.